Hey, what's everybody? We're back for another edition here in the car. I want to talk about dealing with regrets. And this is a topic, it's actually one of my most watched videos here on YouTube, is dealing with regrets and how to not let things that don't go how you want them to fully to derail you or affect you. I believe, listen, we live in life and situations happen that don't go how we want. But I think one of the most powerful things that we can do is to not live inside of those regrets. Some of y'all know some of my story, and I made some major mistakes about 15 years ago where I was drinking a lot of alcohol, and I had one instance where I had actually posted something on social media that got me arrested because it was a facetious threat that I had made. I was drunk, and it got reported. And honestly, I'm glad that the police responded to it, and they took it seriously. And it terrified me, and it taught me such a lesson. Now, yes, I regret that I did that. 100%, right? It was a stupid thing that I did. You would never see me even come close, like, just not even in the range of what I would do today as a father and as a business owner and things like that. This was 15 years ago. But how have I made peace with the fact of what happened? Is that I know that A, it's part of my story, and B, I know that if I can share with somebody the lessons that I've learned along the way, that I don't have to live regretting what happened. And you might say, well, that sounds great, Jeremiah. You have a great lesson from that. But what about if you make a mistake that truly impacts you in a negative way, like, say, financially or something like that? Well, I'll give you an example of this. I've actually had a couple of times where, like, I bought some cryptocurrency and it dropped in value and I lost money. I bought a stock and it dropped in value and I lost money. And the regret that I felt was so devastating in that moment. But what I had to do was, and full transparency, I love investing. I love trading. I love the stock market. It's provided my family with millions of dollars in capital that we've been able to generate by being able to make good, solid investments. But when you're making investments, you're also going to lose, especially when you're learning how to do it. When you're learning something in your business, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to mess up. You're going to do the wrong thing. It's not always going to work out, quote unquote, how you want it to or how it's supposed to in your mind. And so what we have to do is we have to make peace with the fact that stuff happens. Things don't always go how we want. The disappointment, the frustration, all of those things, those are real human emotions. And I think that it's okay to feel those emotions. It needs to be okay to feel those emotions. But then learn to forgive yourself. Learn to move on quickly. And I think sometimes our need to control everything, control the outcome, feel like we're in control and all of that. Okay, if you grew up in a situation where you were traumatized and you felt like you weren't in control in your life, you are going to crave whatever you can do to feel in control, to make you feel like, okay, I made this mistake, but at least I can regain some sense of control. And yes, controlling what you can control is great, but regret is living, it's kind of a form of grief is what it is. Regret is a form of grief. You're grieving the version of your life of how you expected or thought things to go. It creates this frustration, and we can end up living in it depending on how bad the regret is. We end up literally living in a split identity, a split way of being, to where we're like, we have the version of how we thought things would go, and then we have reality, and our regret is literally controlling our thoughts because we're like, okay, things aren't how they should be. I regret that I made that mistake. I regret that I did that thing that caused this bad thing to happen. My gosh, my friends, there's such a scale to this. I mean, you could literally have, I'm not going to say this, but like any level of regrets, like on the high end of the scale, gosh, like if you killed somebody, okay, I'm not going to say that like anybody who's watching this, I hope that that's not your story, but like, yes, regret that happened, but learn to love yourself enough to say, I can grow from this. I can become a better person. I can become a better version of myself. I can become the version of myself that I always want to do. And I mean that, like some of y'all might be judging the fact that I'm saying if somebody, did something horrible, that they should forgive themselves. But can I tell you this? Yes, there's consequences. Yes, those are things that we should not do, that should not have happened. But living in that regret is not going to do you or anybody else any good. It's time to forgive yourself. It's time to grow from this. It's time to move on from it. And what happens is when we can truly move on from the things that we regret, we can reinvent our lives. We can become a better person. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't reinvent their lives. A lot of people don't become a better person, and they're just going through the motions. It's gonna be hard work. It's gonna take some effort. You're gonna need counseling. You're gonna need guiding. You're gonna need coaching. You're gonna need mentoring. If you've been somebody who's been in business and maybe you lost a bunch of money in a business deal or something like that, you're gonna need to work with a successful business coach to get you back in the game doing the stuff that you can do to move past that regret that you feel, that worry, that doubt, that insecurity, and all of those things that go on inside of us. Those are natural human things that we deal with as a person living on planet Earth. You're gonna end up dealing with them. It just happens. It's just part of life. But we can't let those things run us. We can't let our regrets become our identity, our personality, and who we are. Sure, you can choose to, but you can also choose not to. And that's what I want to encourage you in, is that no matter what regrets you have, no matter what things that you are feeling that you don't want to happen, that you didn't want to happen, that you don't want to experience, that you're upset that happened in your life, can I tell you this? It doesn't have to define you. It does not have to be your forever story. It's a footnote on the grand scheme of life that you are creating and designing, and you have control over your life, the life that you're living, the life that you're designing, the life that you're creating for yourself and your family. And you don't need to stay stuck in the version that you're existing in right now, or that has always been. The version that regrets things, that replays these things. And so practically, one of the things that you can do, this is something like I've learned by working with a therapist. I worked with a therapist for a couple of years, is realizing that change what you're focusing on. Change even the story that you tell yourself and the memory. And what ends up happening is you can literally rewrite in your mind the story of how things went. And this changes how you feel about them. For instance, the story of the regret and the situations that I feel, I told myself from an outside looking in, I was a traumatized young man that was looking to alcohol for peace and freedom, because I didn't know and I was never taught what to do and how to express myself. And I was just looking for attention any way that I could get it by making stupid choices. And that, my friends, gives me compassion on that version of myself. That version of myself that made those mistakes, I have compassion on. I'm able to say, you know what? He was doing some stuff, but he was also doing the best he could. And sure, I could have done better, and I did better, and I'm doing better, right? But in that moment, it comes from a sense of self-love and self-compassion that we truly grow. And that's what creates the better version of ourselves. It's when you love yourself enough to say, you know what? What can I learn from this? How can I look at this from the objective reality of, okay, here's what happened, but it does not have to be my forever story. Here's what led to that. Here's what influenced that. I'm going to be real with y'all. I had some crazy influence. The people I was hanging around, The people I even looked up to as mentors were not healthy for me. They were not helping me. And my thinking was clouded by that. Again, I'm not giving up responsibility. I had to be responsible, right? I am responsible for my actions. I regret the actions that I made. But I also look at it with compassion and I say, you know what? That guy was doing the best he could. And he's grown from it. And I'm proud of the man that I've become today. I reinvented myself, my life, brick by brick. Every piece of myself had to become remade new. And I think, listen, we have versions of ourselves that we're always reinventing ourselves. We're remaking ourselves new every single day, every single week. Right now, I have a version of myself that I'm literally rebuilding today of a business owner, an investor, a father, a husband that I'm proud of. But I also know the work that I need to do, and I know where I'm going, and it takes a decision. I woke up this morning, I made a decision. I said, you know what? That version of me, I'm walking in that now. I'm not making excuses for why I can't or I shouldn't or I'm not able to. And I'm telling you, the productivity that comes out of that when you make a decision to finally stop living life based on our excuses and our feelings and what's not going right, and we decide, you know what, I'm going to be the one that decides where I'm going, what happens with my life, and what becomes of that. When you do that, my friends, you get to change your life, you get to decide your destiny, and you get to steer everything that happens in your life. And what ends up happening is, you know, we hear about the law of attraction and manifestation or things like that. I think some of those things, the real part about it is dialing your brain in, your thinking. And then what ends up happening is as you think, your actions follow, and it starts to create the life you envisioned. And that's exactly what's happened to me in my life. That's exactly what's happened with my family, with my wife, with our kids. I have moments now where I will think a thing and it will happen in my life. And I believe that there is a spiritual aspect to this as well. I believe that the spiritual aspect of it doesn't even matter your religious background. Like, my background is Christian, but I believe that there is a spiritual framework for how God created the universe, that if you come into alignment and agreement with good things happening and you start declaring and you start believing and you start speaking them, we start speaking them into existence, that literally things around us will start to line up in our favor for things to happen. I mean, I've seen it happen in my life. I've seen it happen in the mentors that I've worked with, where they like, when you truly start aligning your life and you start reinventing yourself, you will start to see that the stuff that you declare and speak into reality will start to happen for you. It will start to happen for you. And it's not like, oh, I'm going to speak it in like a magic, rabbit out of a hat, but it will come to pass in ways that we never expected. It's always how we never expected. But it happens, and it comes together, and literally we start designing and creating our life where we thought that we were living in the back seat and we were a victim. Now we are victorious, and we are the designer, the co-creator of our life with God to create stuff. That's what I truly believe, and that's my belief about those things. So anyways, listen, I hope this has encouraged you. I hope this has helped you. I believe if you apply what I taught in this lesson, in this training, you will see a change in your life like you never imagined. We'll talk soon, everybody. Have a good one.